It's Arbitration Tuesday with the non-tender deadline getting moved up to Tuesday ahead of the looming lockout. So we got a lot of news to talk about. Got some Freddie Freeman rumors as well. Got some signings in there. So a lot to talk about on Wednesday's episode of Locked On Braves. So let's get into it.
Hey, this is Stacey Gotsoulias,
DC Lundberg,
Ryan Finkelstein,
Taylor Blake Ward,
host of Locked On Yankees,
Locked On Mariners,
Locked On Mets,
Locked On Angels,
and you're listening to Locked On Braves.
Locked On Braves,
Locked On Braves,
part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hey, and welcome back to Locked On Braves, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, where we talk about your favorite teams every day. I am your host, Jake Mastriani. You can follow me on Twitter at ShortstopBall. Check out my bio there to see everywhere I am covering the great game of baseball, including the Atlanta Braves in written form over at TomahawkTake.com. So appreciate you going there, checking out the site, seeing all the great written material there as well. Also, make sure you follow the podcast on Twitter at LockedOn_Braves. Make sure you put that underscore in there when searching for it. Don't get the wrong one. It's LockedOn_Braves. And make sure that you subscribe to us here on YouTube. Apologize for the poor audio on YouTube for Tuesday's episode. Had some internet connectivity issues there that was messing with the audio a little bit, but hopefully it's better today. But make sure you do subscribe to us on YouTube. Make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to us wherever you get your podcast as well. Make sure you subscribe to the Locked On Braves podcast. Do appreciate all the support there. And again, as always, thank you for making Locked On Braves your first listen each and every day. As a reminder, we post episodes daily, Monday through Friday, so 5 days a week, and we will continue to do so through most of the off season. Here later in the off season, we'll go to 3 days a week, and we may need to if this lockout comes here this week as we're expecting it to. But for now, we will be continuing 5 days a week with these off season podcasts. So getting into the episode today, we are going to be talking about some Freddie Freeman rumors that came on Tuesday, as well as some Matt Olson rumors, and then we'll get into the arbitration deals that went down, the players who were tendered a contract, those who were non-tendered, and then we'll finish talking about some of the labor negotiations that went on Tuesday, or lack thereof. Really not much progress being made there, so a ton to get to on today's podcast. But let's start with what you probably most want to hear, and those were the rumors about Freddie Freeman. And all of this coming from Jon Heyman. And look, Jon Heyman has more sources than I do. He's more in the know than I am. But a lot of times Jon Heyman just says things to say things. So take all of this with a little bit of grain of salt here. But he is a reporter. Again, he has inside information. So he says something, it's at least worth talking about. But what Jon Heyman said on Tuesday, he said the Yankees are definitely interested in Freddie Freeman, which why wouldn't they be? MVP, one of the best free agents on the market. I would imagine a lot of teams are interested in Freddie Freeman. But he also said, like a lot of other teams out there, they just have a hard time believing that the Braves won't re-sign him. And I've talked about this already before. It's almost hurting Freddie Freeman, the fact that everybody knows he wants to go back to Atlanta. I think that's why teams are trying, or somewhat shying away from making aggressive offers towards him. Not necessarily that he's telling them that he's going to sign with Atlanta, but everybody knows that's ultimately where he wants to go. But I still think at some point it may take another team making an aggressive offer and pushing the Braves to get a deal done, because the Braves know Freddie wants to play in Atlanta, and so at this point they're basically just bidding against themselves. So it makes no sense for them to up their offer when they're just bidding against themselves. So again, I've said it before, I think it may take another team getting involved and really pursuing Freddie Freeman hard. Jon Heyman mentioned the Dodgers as a good fit. His hometown team, they just lost Corey Seager. They lost Max Scherzer. I know a pitcher, so a little bit different there, but they do lose a big bat in Corey Seager. So they could make a lot of sense and maybe pivot to Freddie Freeman here. I think, again, they do make sense. And, I've always thought if Freddie was going to leave the Braves, it would be for either the Angels or the Dodgers so he can play, on the West Coast where he grew up. So I think the Dodgers, could become a serious threat. Heyman also mentioned the Blue Jays as a good target. Again, Freddie has roots in Canada as well, so it could be a potentially good fit there for him too. But again, until we see more teams get involved, and again, if the lockout's about to come, you're not going to have an opportunity for a bidding war right now. But I think it is somewhat of a good thing, and I know it's going to sound kind of crazy to say as a Braves fan, but it's almost a good thing to see other reports of interest from other teams, because hopefully that is going to push the Braves to get something done. And it should have already been done. It should not have gotten to this point, but now that we're here, whatever it takes to get it done, I don't think I can't see them not getting it done. And another last thing Heyman said, or as far as Freeman goes, he said that he believes Freeman is seeking 6 years and $180 million, which, again, you can probably tell the way I talk about Heyman, I don't always agree with him, but I think he's spot on here where, he basically says, if that's what Freeman wants, just pay the man. And, I think that's how a lot of us Braves fans feel. I mean, just pay the man. I mean, 6 and 180 is very fair for Freddie Freeman. If that's what he wants, give it to him. Maybe you give him 6 170, 6 175, but give him, if that's what he wants, get it done before the Dodgers or the Blue Jays or the Yankees just come in and throw 200 million at him, and he can't pass it up. So I agree with Heyman here. If that's what Freddie wants, get the deal done. I don't know for certain that's what it is. I feel like that's a pretty fair contract for Freddie and what he probably is looking for. And maybe Alex or the Braves front office is still hung up on giving him that 6th year. Again, I would do it. I would have done it yesterday. I would have done it at the beginning of the season. I would have done it last off season. I love Freddie Freeman. Again, I have my podcast giving you my 10 reasons why the Braves need to bring him back. So get it done. Hopefully they get it done. But it, again, according to Heyman, sounds like the Braves are looking at contingency plans. He says the Braves have checked in on Oakland A's first baseman Matt Olson. Again, he said possibly a contingency plan in case Freddie Freeman does sign elsewhere. I mean, look, if Freddie does sign somewhere else, it's going to hurt. Matt Olson would definitely help that feel a little bit better. I don't see him providing the leadership that you would lose in Freddie Freeman, not to mention the production. But Matt Olson would certainly be, a good replacement there if that happens. One, I can't see that happening. I mean, until it actually does, I just can't see the Braves not bringing back Freddie Freeman and Freddie Freeman not coming back to Atlanta. I was talking about it in a group chat with the other writers at Tomahawk Take. I can't imagine seeing him in another uniform. Like, I don't know that I could look at it without just throwing up. So I don't want to see Freddie Freeman in another jersey. I don't really want to think about it. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure the Braves are checking in on Matt Olson, just getting an idea of what that might take, just in case something happens. But I don't see the Braves not getting a deal done with Freddie Freeman. And two, I can't imagine Alex Anthopoulos giving up the prospects that it would take to get a player at the caliber of Matt Olson. I mean, he's been so hesitant to trade big time prospects in the past before. I can't see him doing that deal here to get Matt Olson. But I mean, if they did lose Freddie Freeman, who plays first base? I mean, I don't know. There's just not a lot of other great options out there. I mean, nobody's going to replace Freddie Freeman. Matt Olson would probably be the closest that you could get who might be available. But still, I mean, the prospect haul that it would take to get Matt Olson, I can't imagine Alex Anthopoulos giving that up. But again, I also can't imagine Freddie Freeman not being an Atlanta Braves. So let's get that done. If it's 6 and 180, go get it done. Whatever it is, go get it done. That's all I can say. The clock is ticking here with the lockout looming, which we'll talk about a little bit more coming up. But next, I want to look at the arbitration deadline. You had some signings that got done. Some players were tendered contracts. Some players weren't tendered contracts. So we'll get into all of that next. Before we do that, let me tell you about our friends at Built Bar this holiday season. Grab the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar or even better than a candy bar. Built Bar, filled with so much holiday goodness, rich with decadent flavor, covered in chocolate, but amazingly low in calories, sugar, net carbs, and fat, and high in protein. You get the best of both worlds, delicious and healthy. So many flavors, you'll have a hard time choosing, from raspberry to mint brownie, cherry to double chocolate, and cookies and cream to peanut butter brownie. I really love those last two there. Built Bar gives you the extra fuel you need to bust down those mall doors and battle all the holiday shoppers. Or if you're just standing in endless shopping lines, Built Bar can give you that extra something to keep you going. So throw one in your jacket or purse. You never know when you're going to need it. Go to built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. That's LOCKED15 at built.com to get 15% off your next order. All right, so again, they moved up the non-tender deadline to give players a chance to sign with a team. Players that get non-tendered, give them a chance to sign with the team before the lockout happens, which tells you it's going to happen because they moved up the deadline pretty much just for that. So chances of both sides getting a deal done, very slim. But again, we'll talk about that in the last segment. But that non-tender deadline was moved up to Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. The Braves tendered a contract to several players here. We'll start with the ones who were tendered a contract. First of all, they signed Guillermo Heredia to a 1-year deal for $1 million. And that's actually a pretty significant deal right now because the Braves, I guess, lack some depth in the outfield. Maybe not because of the Marcell Ozuna situation. I don't know. Again, I'm not going to get into all of that again. You can go back and listen to my podcast from Monday on that. But certainly the Braves need some depth in the outfield. So getting Heredia back at $1 million and getting the Swords back, especially, that's pretty good deal there. They also signed Orlando Arcia to a 2-year deal worth $3 million with a $2 million team option in 2024 that includes a $100,000 buyout. So this was a very interesting move here. I thought Arcia, potentially could have been a non-tender candidate, although I don't mind him coming back. I don't mind this deal at all. I think he's very good insurance if something were to happen to really just Dansby Swanson. I mean, that's where Arcia has the most experience at the major league level. He played a little third base. The Brewers were kind of trying him out there. I covered the Brewers during that time period. It did not go particularly well at third base, but I'm sure, he could learn the position and hold it down if he needed to. Same for probably second base. I know the Braves tried him outfield to get his bat in there when the outfield was so depleted and he was raking in AAA. Unfortunately, that bat did not carry up into the major league level and really just, not great in the outfield, but, can do it if needed to. So, he gives the Braves kind of that super utility type guy. He is out of minor league options, so they will have to keep him on the major league roster. So he will be part of the bench for the Braves right now. But again, 2 years, $3 million for a guy that can play multiple positions, a guy that has plenty of starting experience in the big leagues is not terrible, not a terrible deal here. MLB trade rumors projected him to get $2.1 million in arbitration in 2022. The way that the contract is structured, he'll make $1.6 million in 2022. So that's still under, what he was projected to get in arbitration, and he'll make $1.3 million in 2023. So again, not a lot of money here for a pretty, solid bench player that essentially is just going to be there for insurance. And if an infielder gets injured, can play several different positions. Again, has a lot of experience. So I don't hate the deal for sure. I know it probably isn't, what a lot of people maybe wanted or expected, but certainly don't mind Orlando Arcia at that price with all the big league experience that he has. Other players that were tendered a contract, and we have not heard as I'm recording this at about 10:30 p.m. Eastern. We have not gotten details of if a contract was made between these players or if these players are going to be going through the arbitration process. But the Braves did tender contracts to Adam Duvall, Dansby Swanson, Luke Jackson, AJ Minder, Max Fried, Mike Soroka, Sean Newcomb, Tyler Matzik, and Austin Riley. Obviously, no real surprises there. Maybe the one big surprise is Adam Duvall, just because he's projected to make about $9 million in his last year in arbitration. Pretty, big price point for him, especially the Braves are already paying him a $3 million buyout. So Would not be surprised, and I saw David O'Brien mention this on Twitter as well. The Braves, were able to work out a 2-year deal here in order to, maybe not pay him $9 million this year, maybe $7 million this year, $7 million the following season, something like that. Would not be surprised at all if that happens, or if he becomes a trade candidate. But as I said, right now the Braves need outfielders. Acuna's not going to be ready to go. We don't know who's going to be playing center field, if Pache is going to be ready or if he's going to be trade bait this offseason. Obviously, the Ozuna situation, he could potentially be available. So the Braves kind of need Adam Duvall at the moment until we see how the rest of the offseason plays out. So I really wasn't surprised that he was tendered a contract, just for the fact that they need some outfielders on the roster right now. Again, not sure if the rest of or if any of these guys right now actually have agreed upon contract, but they've all at least been tendered a contract. If they hadn't agreed upon the contract before the deadline, then the Braves are typically filing a trial team, which means if they don't come to an agreement before the deadline, then they will go to arbitration trial with those players. Now, that would be a lot of players to go to trial for, but with how the CBA negotiations are going and the arbitration process going to be, a big, key, or have a lot of emphasis in those talks, we can see that arbitration process swing into the players' favor a little bit more here. So, perhaps some of these guys are hoping that's the case, and maybe they come out better on the other end of this. Maybe that's why they want to just wait and see how the negotiations go. But that would still be a lot of players to go to trial with, through arbitration. I wouldn't be surprised we get word a couple more deals getting done throughout the night or on Wednesday morning. But Braves have at least tendered those players a contract, so they will continue to be under team control, at least for now. And again, no real surprises there. Maybe Sean Newcomb is a bit of a surprise, but he was projected to make around $900,000, so still not a ton of money there for Newcomb. So I wasn't really surprised he got tendered a contract. As far as the players that did not get tendered a contract, they non-tendered Johan Camargo, Richard Rodriguez, and Jacil De La Cruz. So Camargo wasn't a surprise. I think I mentioned him before as a non-tender candidate, but especially once they announced the signing of Orlando Arcia, seemed like the writing was on the wall for Camargo. A bit unfortunate for Camargo. Came in, had that big year, and then, didn't get the job. The next season they signed Josh Donaldson, was put in a super utility role, which his profile, seems great for, but just wasn't able to fulfill that role. I hope for his sake that he can find a team where he can get some starting time and get some everyday at bats and see if he can be an everyday big league player. But it just seems like after he lost that job to Josh Donaldson, he never really recovered after that, never really was able to find a spot with the Braves. So the Braves cut ways there again with Orlando Arcia. Don't really need Camargo at this point. The Richard Rodriguez one's a bit, I wouldn't say surprising. I thought he would get non-tendered. I would have non-tendered him, but, I thought maybe just because of the fact that they traded for him, kind of a pride thing, that they would keep Richard Rodriguez around and give him another shot. But he was dreadful for the Braves, and really he was not good since they cracked down on the substance abuse for pitchers. So leads you to believe that maybe he was benefiting from using some sort of foreign substance on the baseball. Certainly don't want to accuse anybody of anything, but that's what a lot of people have pointed to. But he just wasn't good with the Braves. He was going to make around $3 million. So Braves saved some money there, non-tendered him. So he will become a free agent. And then Jacil De La Cruz, I feel bad for him as well. Just injury stuff, wasn't able to ever put it together. I thought he could be a really solid bullpen arm. I would not be surprised if they try to sign him to a minor league deal and keep him in the system. Obviously, he's a free agent now, but Braves could still sign him to a minor league deal and keep him. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. I certainly would like to see that happen. I still believe in, there's a little bit of upside there in that arm, but Camargo and Rodriguez getting non-tendered, that saves about $4.5 million. That's not insignificant. Certainly some good money that the Braves could use. They can add to their payroll this offseason to hopefully go out and sign some better players than the ones that they non-tendered. So again, not insignificant news there, saving about $4.5 million by non-tendering those players. All right, we'll take another break here, and then we'll come back and talk about the CBA negotiations. BetOnline has you covered all season for more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football season continues the march to the playoffs. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the sports action this season. Head to their new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. Basketball, football, boxing, and UFC right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, so I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because I really don't know a lot of the details. Nobody does, but MLB and the MLB Players Association met on Tuesday to continue quote-unquote negotiations. It sounds like there wasn't much negotiating going on, but proposals were passed back and forth. Sounds like neither side is happy, and it sounds like we are headed towards a lockout as we approach that 11:59 p.m. Eastern deadline on a Wednesday night. So what we all have kind of thought for a while now looks like it's actually going to happen, and that we will have a lockout and a roster freeze starting at midnight on Wednesday. So that is unfortunate. It's also created a really big storm of moves over the last week, which has been exciting. And, Major League Baseball has been in the news a lot with a lot of money being spent, a lot of players being signed and traded. So it's been a really great week. I hope somehow in the future they can implement some sort of soft deadline to get deals done to create, more urgency like this, because it's been a lot of fun to see and to report on and to witness. So hopefully they can somehow find some way to do that. I know NBA and NFL does that or has something similar to that as well. So it was fun. We at least got to experience that at the Major League Baseball offseason. But with the lockout coming, probably going to be very silent for a while, at least in December. I feel like if the lockout does happen, which it looks like it will, I don't see it getting done anytime soon. Because once you're in a lockout, you're in a lockout. The two sides feel like, at that point, they don't really have a deadline to get something done. And, again, I know they're probably going to work through the holidays, but you got to imagine there's not going to be a ton done, around Christmas and New Year's. If they go in a lockout, which, again, it looks like they are, I would not be surprised if this lockout stays until the end of January. I don't see it getting done anytime soon once they actually go into a lockout. But hopefully they're going to meet again on Wednesday. Hopefully they'll make some good progress. Try to come together on some of these negotiations, and hopefully the lockout won't be as long as I'm thinking it will be. But as long as we get baseball back, as long as they get a deal done before February, before pitchers and catchers report, then I'll be happy. Just give me baseball again, and I think that will happen. I don't think we'll have a stoppage of games, but I do think this lockout could last for a while. And hopefully we get a Freddie Freeman deal done at the last minute before this lockout, because I do not want to go 2 more months without knowing where Freddie Freeman is going to be in 2022 and into the future. Well, that will do it for this episode of Locked On Braves. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at LockedOn_Braves. You can follow me on Twitter at ShortstopBall, and make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to the Locked On Braves podcast wherever you get your podcast. And we will talk to you next time.